That's a Bel'Veth invading her own jungle with Volibear in a bush. Volibaba starting level E, freshly buffed, obviously doing very well in the win rates and the data. We'll talk about it. Bel'Veth just being nerfed with that E damage reduction. And I kind of like the idea of being a bit more proactive against Bel'Veth now, because a lot of them are not going to fully realize how strong or weak their champion is when it comes to just walking and stuff and killing it. Now, she's still going to be able to do it. None of that will change. Volibear level E, rank E, level E, ability E to start is always good. Bel'Veth goes over to Wolves and accepts her fate. Now, there is a ward on the red buff here, so the Bel'Veth will know, all right? Volibear is going there, or he's not going there. Let's have a look. At what point we detect. She, I think, is planning on taking this, obviously, and going to contest the take here with E rank 2. And I think Volibear should know this is going to happen. But we have W, we have E. We're pretty potent level 1, level 2, level 3 in terms of stats, right? Not obviously in terms of... Why would you face... I'm just looking at this Bel'Veth. This is the kind of stuff... This is why people hate Bel'Veth. Because they do these kinds of things, perfect emote, and assume they can always get away with it. Bel'Veth had the right idea to start on Wolves, and then easily could have cut down, done a blue side quadrant, ganked bottom lane because it's a Callista shove, and had a lot of power. Now, what I like about this is it shows that Volibear, while he does rely on that level 3 spike for ganks, it doesn't mean he can't fight dynamically. It doesn't mean he can't do these kinds of things. And obviously, remember, when you do this kind of stuff and you chase Akali's around the map, you lose a lot of farming tempo. And you see here the Bel'Veth on the blue and the Akali teeping to the mid lane. So once she's recovered, pretty good job by the Akali, we can just go to our red. I'm not a fan of all these level 1 things. However, when you typically have a Kindred, a Shaco, Bel'Veth, and you can actually invade them and put pressure onto them, that's when you see, am I against a good Bel'Veth, a good Shaco, a good Graves or whatnot, because you'll see how they adapt. However, from Volibear's perspective, this is all fine, because I'm not going to be AFK farming like Garthus, and I don't mind applying a bit of pressure to you. And now that we have level 3, maybe there's something we can do. So let's talk a little bit about this champion. This is not the champion that I helped with the release content and sort of mained my whole life. The Q-Max tank variants, I don't like it. I really hate playing that kind of style, and it's very, yeah, that's the problem that makes him OP in pro play, right? The OP Q-Max, tank builds, I don't like it. That's always what got him nerfed. My preferred style was always a bit of fighter items, maybe a bit of hybrid, W-Max, a lot of skirmishing and power. Bel'Veth runs across here for no particular... Again, this is the kind of stuff you absolutely must head over to Virkayu.gg. I have a free jungle improvement resource as well as a dedicated program where we have jungle video courses, jungle coaching VOD libraries, weekly free video content seen nowhere else, as well as Q&As and patch note rundowns, as well as a private jungle Discord. And if there's one thing I'm good at, it's making junglers reach their goals, as we saw with the record number of people hitting them at the end of Season 13. If you want to climb faster than anyone you know, jungle diff every game you play, click the link below or head to Virkayu.gg. We don't like to see here, look, you're sitting in a Volibear E that's got huge damage reduction, you composite with the smite as well. Like, there's no point doing this whatsoever. And here's the thing, we do have the Akali in the mid lane, the Urgot in back and base, and Bel'Veths, Graves, all of you players who like to do this kind of stuff, tick, I hate... Don't we all hate the pets? Bring back talisman, proper ticks. Like, this tick mechanic is so irritating because it was quite a lot of skill in knowing talisman would finish it off and you could walk away. And I don't know why they removed it. Like, I shouldn't have to stand there for an extra auto when I know the tick's going to go through. But regardless, all right. When you have a Bel'Veth invading you, Raptors into the blue Grump. When you have a Graves doing a quadrant into an invade if you're sequencing down, or doing a quadrant and invading you as you're sequencing up. They do it without any consideration for repercussions of their actions. And when you can invade with impunity, it's no longer a skill. They're nerfing the lethality from the Dirk so that that happens less. They've nerfed the Bel'Veth's E so she gets away with it less. And all of those things I think are absolutely great changes to make it, when you're doing these invades, that is strategic, that it makes a lot of sense. And well, the Volibear, I hate that too. You Q and it hits a minion. I mean, wish it would automatically lock onto champions and not defer to minions at all, right? Like, it should help. Yeah, that's a bit of a lingering issue we still have. Anyway, so obviously here we are maxing the W. We are going for the Sundered Sky. We are going for the Sterex Gauge. You saw that from the thumbnail, and you can see the 3 points in W. This is the kind of style I like. Now, the problem with it, and why it hasn't taken off a little bit after these buffs came through to Q, was because we weren't entirely sure what itemization we should go, right? Because we were very used to having certain ways to play the game, Sundered Skies, as we see the Bel'Veth coming in. But it was very, very difficult to force the W max when it made no sense. Above is like wandering around here. This is so good, isn't this? Let's just capture this, guys. Look at this. Level 5 Volibear, level 3 Belveth, strategic level 1 invade. Good. Play it against her. Then lets her make her own decisions, sees where she is by taking her camps, just lets her do her thing. When she does over-aggressive things, we kill her, and then we return with the invade. And now because we do this, and she knows we've done this, we can just loop her back around and go into this side, especially if she goes to top side to do the Krugs, which she did. So now we get everything, right? It's a really powerful way to take over games when you know what you're doing. Obviously here at this point, the Akali is super low. Hui feels very comfortable kind of really pushing it. I think the Volibear here, this is where yeah. Well, you know, if we ignore this, everything else was pretty good. So, where do we have problems with Q-Max Volibear and where do we have problems with W-Max Volibear? It's always a trade-off. That's why you see a lot of players actually go 3 points W or 3 points Q, mostly 3 points W. This allows you to heal and skirmish a lot better, like in top lane. That's where the heal and the potency is, right? Especially with those drain tank builds. And obviously the Q-Max is better for jungle because you want to rotate, you want to gank. As we see the top lane going at it, Rumble kills Urgot. Rumble also a pretty good jungle pick, by the way. These are up and we're ignoring them. And I like that too. There's no reason to enforce grubs when it doesn't make sense in terms of tempo advantage, because we know at this point, from Volibear's perspective, that the Belveth is coming down to the bottom side. So let's take away the objective she will take if we were to go up and do the grubs, right? Also, it just protects the bottom line a little bit. They're pushed in, there's no Renata. We can snack this baby up and then retract out. Now, we could go for this and for this, but we know the Belveth will recognize, all right, that's all done. I need to go topside. So Volibear says, let me apply some of that pressure. Here's the thing, ladies and gentlemen. When you build Volibear this way, you're skirmishing, your invades, your 1v1 power, this is all super duper good. But in this particular case, we have no issue actually getting onto people with our Q, being buffed at rank 1 movement speed with our ultimate as well. And now the Belveth, it's really funny seeing a Belveth get abused like this. It's really good to see. And the Volibear is able to do it with the W max. With the Q max, you have less of that potency in terms of those 1v1 invades, and you have to think a bit more about how you're going to be playing lane. The problem has been for a very long time that our Q just wasn't powerful enough, and neither was a W. So you couldn't catch anyone at all, you didn't do damage at all. And now we kind of do a lot of damage with those W buffs a while back, and now the Q damage and the Q movement speed is so good that you can actually leave it at rank 1 and be fine against quite a few comps, right? Like you see that here. We've got that nice juicy movement speed at 12% instead of 8%. That's a huge buff at rank 1, and it allows us to stick to these champions without stress and then fight them without W points. However, that means you are a bit more squishy. That means you do have a little bit less utility to be a stun bot, to be an absorbing tank sponge, but that's okay. That is still good in terms of how you play, but as you can see, I didn't release content. As a Volibear main and a player, I didn't save a replay in the first patch and say, yes, look at this Q-Max tank champion. Yeah, no, I don't like it. It is where people don't enjoy having that in pro play and things like this. But this play, this build, is so good at this kind of, like, right, you see what we're doing here? We're not really ganking. We're just removing the enemy jungler from the game, and I love it. We're cutting the wave here, we can do it. You know, we don't really care at all that she's taking our bottom side here if she is taking it now, which is totally in control. Let her have something. Now we can impact the lanes. You spend the first 8 minutes just fisting, invading. Look at the trades here. Obviously, we are going to get eviscerated if the Rumble doesn't help us. We'll do the ult smash Giga Stomp, and we get it. Well, not eviscerated, but you know, it's a little closer if Rumble doesn't ult. Fortunately, he does. But we always had ult. We always had W. That's the thing, right? Look at this. You see it there. Damage goes from 5 rank 1. It's so pitiful. You can see, like, if you're maxing Q, like, just look at the stats. If you're maxing Q and you're sitting on rank 1 W, damage is 5. Yeah. I mean, the heal goes up quite nicely. Missing health percent as well goes up from 8 to 17 at this point to 20 max rank. Like, this is a cool spell to have when you want to fist and fight and skirmish and invade and really be that jungle denial god. But it does hurt you against comps where you get kited, and Volibear still has that problem, which is why this game is going to go a lot longer than you think it's going to go. You would have seen from the timestamp of the video. It's not some sort of free real estate 90-minute win. And let's be brutally honest here, ladies and gentlemen. If you were playing Belveth or Kindred on the enemy team, or in this particular case instead of Volley, this game would end at 15 to 20, right? We're all on the same page here. Like, Volibear is great, but he does have still clear weaknesses. What is a Volibear going to do, even with, like, if W max is horrible, but Q max, Volibear, what's he going to do against a Braum, Jinx, and a Karthus with exhaust? Nothing. Because I just watched and scouted a game like that, and I'm like, yep, that's where the weakness lies. So there are still trade-offs. He is not inherently some ungodly OP champion. He's way better top lane for the W max, drain tank stuff to get a lead that no one can actually touch him on. With jungle, you got to be able to play like this. I like this. A little bit of proactivity, a little bit of that invade jungle. Just get out of the game. Now we translate that to objectives and lanes. This is where this build and this playstyle is good. Now, obviously, you can still gank, right? We can still gank lanes. We can still do all the stuff we need to do to, as junglers know. Nice little flash Q there, but the problem is we have no ult and we weren't watching the Veigar. So always watch the back timers. We do have E up again in 10 seconds. Oh, it's up now, sorry. I looked as it came up, so. We have the Sundered Sky. This is where the Divine Sundra build path kind of... You see that there, though? Did you see that? Let's just watch that again. This is now 1 point in Q, right? Here we go. Sorry, 2 points in Q, excuse me. It's been a long day. 2 points in Q. Like, this feels much, much better at 17%, right? Significantly better with 2 points in Q than it did almost at max rank in terms of feel. Because what you have to factor in here is when you go something second, and there we go, we ult back over the line. Bel'Veth goes back in here. We do get knocked up. We get knocked up because Cow plus Bel'Veth W. Let's just watch this play through and we'll finish that discussion. Akali TP's in. Nice disengage. Thank you so much. And now we can queue away. My whole point is, it's not just about the raw percentage of numbers, which I think people get confused about. Like, hey, you have 8%, 10%, 12%, 70%, 25%. Yeah, okay. But what is that percentage relative to anybody else in the game at a particular moment? So if you max Q, you're going to have, for example, all of those benefits before anybody gets boots, before anyone has multiple points in their dashes, before anyone's able to really deal with it. So that's what makes you so strong in those ganking moments. But now if you want to go play like this style, you go W, you max your Q second, and all of a sudden, your movement speed is still good enough to match people in the game as they start to complete their tier 2 boots, as they start to amp up their own mobility. And that's what I noticed. Is if you W maxed before and then Q'd, as you leveled up the Q, it was so pitiful that at this stage of the game, in the mid game, you could never stick to anybody. So that's also worth noting when you buff an ability to like Q, how it impacts top laners in terms of this case, but also junglers if you like to play differently. So, to that end, the one item, Sundered Sky, into tank build with Q max is fine. You can also W max that if you wanted to, but I much prefer what we're going to go this game, and I've never been a heavy supporter of the Sterix. See, very nice. Volibear is about getting leads. This is how you get leads, and we're also about shitting on Bel'Veths whenever we can. Ult up again in 9. Obviously, PTA is the way to go. We would have seen that. Talk a little about runes in a second. I just love the damage that comes through, the ability to actually stick to him and chase him down. Like, honestly, there are so many cases in the last 18 months where you'll be in this exact same spot with your Divine Thunderers, your Trinity Forces, whatever, and your Titanic Hydras, and you press Q and you just couldn't quite get there, and it's tragic. It's horrible, it's sad. But now you can. So, I tried the Titanic Hydra tech, I've tried the Sundered Sky, Sheen, item combos, and nothing really stuck, and I've never really been a fan of the Sterix Gauge, but the Sundered Sky to Sterix Gauge gives you the things that we love the most about Volibear when we are not quite as strong as we used to be. Right, let's be honest here, we're not the same W max strong of the old days, nor the current top lane. What it does is it gives us tenacity, HP, and a lifeline shield. Gives us survivability, the ability to keep moving, and compensates for not necessarily having as many points in Q because we can start moving again sooner. And the combination of these items for survivability and damage and heal, obviously because we scale on the HP there, as you can see, it's absolutely massive, all right? Oh, and the damage, not even just the heal, sorry. The damage is absolutely massive in W2, right? As well, so 9% bonus damage right there, absolutely gigantic when you finish all of these items and then go into the Spirit Visage, that gets amped up absolutely beautifully. Really nice. Really, really nice. And it's been something I've had to accept it. Okay, like, if you want to play it the way you used to play Virkayu, you're just going to have to adapt and change the items, even if they're not necessarily your most favorite items, right? Because that's the thing as well. You know, I'm used to building like a Nash's Tooth Iceborne Gauntlet. You guys remember that one? I put that out as soon as Season 11 came out. I said, try these combos. and I released that huge volley guide and put all those different builds. I really liked how all of those felt. And, you know, it's just a different reality, but this is as close as it's been to like the peak days. And relatively, it is quite strong. The W max, though, is still 2 to 3% lower than Q max. It is way more skillful. You can get caught out a lot more, and you have to understand how to jungle a lot better. There's a lot more skill expression in this way of playing, because you're not just running around lanes ganking and getting tanky and not having to think. And I feel like these are all good things, right? Nice E there again. We got the Q. Look at this. Look at this. You see that with Force of Flash? This wasn't happening pre-Q buff. This just wasn't, with 2 points in Q, this wasn't happening. You weren't forcing a flash though. They just laughed at you and said, you're never catching me. And now we can actually catch. And look, another E through the wall there. We got Q. Could in theory R to extend that, but we won't because it's a little bit grief because it's an Akali. Really huge shit. I love it. Well, that's not the best turn of phrase, but we're a giant bear, so kind of does work out a little bit. All right. Now that we've talked about all of that stuff, Bel'Veth is going from the top side here. She's collapsing in. She saw the Volibear down there. We're shouting their way, which is always what we like to do in these situations. Kalista turns back in and dodges the W. Oh, Bel'Veth players, you know, I love you when you're great junglers, but a lot of you are not great junglers. Your decision making is terrible, and as soon as you don't get out of jail free cards, right? The day I died. This is in fact, see, like here and now, you can look at the threat of the ER combo, the threat of being able to do damage, sustain, heal. It's massive. Look at this. Why are people not respecting the E though? I mean, this is GM. Like, we know he's going to E. Just walk back a little further, save yourself some time. Seems a bit silly not to, but it is what it is. There, see, that's why we shadow the way. We take some camps, we watch him, we see. But this is a better play because we got 3 grubs. They got 2. We'll take that. Sorry, 4 grubs to 2. That's a turret we have. We have 3 turrets. And they have 0 turrets, which is always funny. Now, closing the game as Volibear is important, but you don't have the same Omega power that a Bel'Veth or a Virkayu has. See there, R over the wall. We stop the turret, but that disable is now reduced, so you don't have the same power. Cal shows up. We will have to be careful here. But as always, you know, 3 points in Q now, some movement speed for those who need it is 22. We'll end up at 32%. Really? Oh, the turnaround. Wait, I've seen this play. I've seen this play. Hold on a second, ladies and gentlemen. I have seen this play. 99% I've seen this play here. I have. That's because this is from Best Junglers. I had someone collect some footage today, and I just put up Best Junglers for the tier lists, and I remember watching this. Like, that looks like a W max bear. And turns out it is. I'm very happy about that. So we'll clear the vision. Nice little turn on the flash chomps are nice, the chomp flashes, you know, like turning around with a W, especially if they're marked and you get the W too, and you heal up nicely, we like it. So we have an objective of the map we can snack up. Obviously here you've seen the Nimbus Cloak and the Celerity. That is something that is proven quite good. We have the Tenacity, you would have seen from the room page, and Last Stand. Now you can still go Alacrity for attack speed, that's okay. You can still go with the Celerity Water Walking, but I do like the Nimbus Cloak Celerity at this stage. Just because when you go W max, right, and then you flash with your Q, you don't have the same movement speed. So having that burst is really, really useful when you don't have as many points in that Q either. And I think that's also worth noting. You know, so it's always about shoring up your weaknesses and accentuating your strengths as much as possible. And this build variant and Rune Page variant with Tenacity as well has just proven to give a little bit more of all of that oomph I'm talking about. So I started off this video with a few complaints, right? A few things that I was unhappy about when it comes to the Volibaba changes and how he feels at the moment. But this is the closest it gets to feeling juicy. Now, obviously, I have the Titanic Hydra Tech for second instead of the Sterex, but I think the Sterex here as we go onto the Urgot Crab Gut is just better. I mean, like your 400 health, you know, 20% tenacity, we get that bonus attack damage anyway in a similar fashion. It's just way more useful to have that survivability when you don't have the tankiness in this meta. You know, years ago, this was not something you needed to go at all. You really didn't. It was just, it didn't make any sense. Especially seeing as you could go the Trinity Force, Trinity Force, Titanic, Frozen Heart, Abyssal Mask. That was my build that I invented a couple years ago now. We had a few junglers try it out and we're like, oh, that's pretty good. But obviously, if you got behind, right, you're a squishy. Now, this is a lot more sustained. Like the healing is 1568. It's really good. I like it. Bel'Veth is just so out of this game. I think what I want you to take from this game is if you're playing WMAX Volley, you do have to be aware of the downsides. The tenacity there is huge, right? The huge tenacity there. You have to be aware of the downsides. Obviously, you have to maximize your tenacity. You have to know your windows of opportunity. You have to know that your Q is not going to be as much of a magnet to laners. But as long as you are killing the enemy jungler and taking them out of the game, you should be okay. I don't know if we necessarily needed to do that, but as always, rather safe than sorry. What are we looking at in terms of closing games? I think we're floating a little bit too much with this top side. I think, you know, we're taking some camps and kind of pushing waves, which is great. But I do advise you guys, when you're playing Volley, to ensure that you control the objective flow and keep shadowing your team like we were doing. Just keep that map moving forward. But we don't have the same, as you can see. With this build, with any build, you don't have the same 1v9 potential as a Viego, as a Bel'Veth, as a Kindred, as a Rengar. You're not going to be able to just walk around killing people, taking turrets without thinking. You still have to play a little bit around your team. You're mighty strong in a skirmish, but you're not an automatic win even if you're fed here. That's why he has much more success in high elo. That's why if you're playing in silver and you can use him to get to gold, that's great. But that's why I do recommend a few other choices. See the best junglers videos for that. If you're truly looking for more 1v9. This will give you game control. This will give you jungle denial, jungle gap. But you're not always going to have this, the kit, right? The ability to get into fights. And here you're seeing that. Like, we run at people, there's not much we can do. Not much of anyone can do in that particular case, to be honest with you. But you just got to go around the map doing the flow, right? Take some camps, push your waves, pull back objectives, take yours there, join your team, push this up, cut through here, push this up. Like, you have to just be a bit more methodical and patient. But that's fine, you know, there's nothing wrong with that. Take their camps. As long as you deny them continuously and use the threat of your strong 1v1 and a lot of how good you can be in these skirmishes, they'll never be able to do anything. 5 points in Q, and obviously Blue Smite completed, so we have that boost. Blue Smite here, plus now, obviously, as you can see there, 32% movement speed. It's fantastic. And look, you got a lot of split push here too. I love doing this. This is why this game was the one I chose, because it most represents how I like to play, or how I like to play the champion. I did Twitch Rivals in 2020. I had to face Metaphor multiple times and Kane and Evelyn. And we were equal, or I was ahead in a lot of cases early, but then later on, right, Rost and Evelyn could do a lot more things than Volley could do, even back then. And obviously in organized environments in Twitch Rivals, like when it was serious, we would, you still have to go tank a little bit, right? Whereas in solo queue, less of an issue. So push the wave up, watch the crash, go back to base, buy yourself a good old-fashioned Spectre's Cowl, because we're worried about the Veigar and the Akali more than anything else, obviously. Look at the list here, the KDS, who's fed, who am I fighting? If there's a really fed ADC and everyone else is dead, and say, for example, everyone else on the enemy team is AP, but their ADC is like 12 kills and 0, and their whole AP side of the squad is weak, you can still build magic resist second. And now you're saying, wait a second, did you say the ADC is 12 and 0? Yes. Focus on killing the ADC first. Because if you guys have the comp that can invade and kill and flank and assassinate that ADC like this, you're not actually fighting them, right? If you have someone that can kill them quickly, you don't need the armor because they're dead. It's only what you're facing that you really want to itemize for. So you got to think about that as well. Obviously, that's not always going to happen, and it's good to build both. But in this case, the two fed people are magic heavy, and their AD threats are not of concern to us, so we just ignore them for now. Here we're trying to end a little bit too soon. I think you can see a Akali, good flank that goes through dashes. Urga gets a kill. You can see where we have to be a bit more still. Like, you're definitely carrying this game, but you still got to peel. You still got to stun. You don't have this, I'm going to run at them and pentakill them like a lot of other champions. That's okay. You know, that's okay. I think that's a good spot. I mean, if we could do that, it's a little too strong. Use your E to poke out. Obviously, there are some AP variants. One day we'll cover those. Patiently waiting. Problem is our whole team is up. We're getting low a little bit. Right, see that? See that peel stun? I just slowed it down there. The Bel'Veth went in. We hit the stun. Can't move. Cool. Protected our backline. Cow goes way too deep. Get the kill. Sit in the front. Try to hit your W2s for maximum heal as much as possible. Chuck more E's. A little bit of redemption. Heal up. Bel'Veth tries to go in. Now we dunk in ultimate, but I'm not a fan of that. You guys know me. Would have preferred our whole team to leave, take a whole bunch of stuff, regroup and push top lane. There's no reason to hang around here whatsoever. Yeah, this is classic low elo throw, but this is also a high elo throw. See the peel Q? Heal Qs, guys. Patient, Q, their assassins, disrupt, heal, sustain. That's what we like. There you go. Nice. W gets the kill. Turn back into the Bel'Veth. Beautifully done by the Volibear. Beautifully done. Exquisite peel. Exquisite turn. Now again, though, we're going back in. I don't think we should. Can we leave, please? There we go. Good job. This guy's leading the macro. Guys, can we just, you know, like, why? What are we doing? Just hit the top lane turret, please. We got grubs. There we go. He didn't get out. He didn't quit it. There we go. Cool. Okay, bounce. Let's go. I got 2,000 gold here. I'm going to take this quickly. Take the red if you want, Callista. There we go. Back to base. Get the Spirit Visage. Baron's coming up. That's a good play. See, now we can go for the She. Now we can go for, like, the Iceborne Gauntlet even. You know, you can do that if you need some stickability at this stage, which I think you can agree we all need. I don't know if I would necessarily go that versus just going straight into some armor itemization, because I feel like your role here has now changed. The 2 items are to get to this point, and now obviously you need to go differently, but like you see the damage there. It's so good. So much better than it used to be. More health is always better. Like, I'm just reading the numbers. 460, 690. Q hits 506 at this point. Because, again, you get this benefit from Sterik's 53 bonus AD that goes onto these, which is the reason for the Titanic back in the day. This was obviously a 15% max HP spell. Now it's 13%. And here you've got all of the things suffer 953 damage directly underneath. So, the damage is there with this build, the survivability is there with this build, the tenacity is there with this build, right? Obviously having that tenacity is massive. I'll try and see if I can see the amount once we're finished. We'll see what we're at. Nice flank there. Yeah, damage reduction or what? Down 3 levels, get knocked back. See, these are the points where it gets a little frustrating. Yes, kill each other! Beautifully done. Now we can end. Got the Baron again, push this in. Grubs, wait for the waves, be smart. Ult is up in 21 seconds. There we go. See, we can just do this stuff. There you go, frontline. This is very good Volibear positioning. You don't need to be a beef, Destiny, damage tank soaking monster thing. You can still be a bit of a fighter. You know, not quite the same as in the past, but it's more than enough to get that sensation. And obviously, you can try the top lane build. It does feel good, but you feel kind of useless early, and as a jungler, you don't want to. Like, you want to keep this pressure on the Bel'Veth, right? You want to keep making sure she can never play the game. Huge damage there, and obviously W doing a lot of stuff, weaving those auto attack cancels. Beautifully done. That'll be game here. 5,083, you can't see it, healing done on that one. Already bonus shielding 1520 and bonus healing 1329 just from that section. Damage shielded 2200 on the Sterik's. Really, really massive, okay? The kind of stuff we're like, ah! Wanted to see the tenacity. Where's the tenacity here? That's movement speed, obviously. I actually never look that deep. 55% tenacity. So that's absolutely huge because you could also take more with the shards, but I think the attack speed, attack damage, and the scaling health is just too good. Really. Very happy that there is at least something that works. Unfortunately for me, I don't like the way the items look together. I don't know if anyone else thinks like that. It is what it is. But thank you very much for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed and learned something. And Virkayu GG for all the good stuff. And otherwise, I'll see you all in the next one.